it just takes 1 second to decide stopping. The main reason is to spare others' life. This is not an extremist perspective, this is the most reasonable and compassionate point of view.
Could you say something about the role of vegetarianism in your own life?
So, I mean, first because my teacher, Kangyur Rinpoche, was a very strict vegetarian for a reason that I may explain. I was inspired by that, and also not just to take example on him, but also because of the deep reason that suddenly became obvious to me. I'd already given up fishing, and I never hunted in my life. I did fish a little bit when I was young in Brittany because but then when I was 13, suddenly it just boomed in my mind that how can I do something like that, which is totally avoiding to put yourself in the place of the other. And then at 20, I gave up eating meat, which is now 46 years ago. But the main reason is, for me, is quite clear. You know, the heart of the Buddhist path is compassion. That means to value others. If you value others, you value their well-being and you're concerned by their suffering. And so it seems that aberrant to survive at the cost of others' suffering. And so if we can do it, if we can survive, so of course that means the condition that in which we can find other types of means of survival, then for me it seems to be a must in terms of Buddhist practice. And the example of India, which is not Buddhist of course, but there are over 400 million vegetarian people, they survive pretty well, and I'm perfectly fine. So even from a selfish purpose, self-centered purpose, it's also perfectly okay. You are not sacrificing your health or reducing your lifespan. Many studies have shown rather the opposite, that actually red meat is increase the incidence of colonic cancer and so forth. So first of all, the main reason is to spare others' life, and we know that in this world 150 billion land animals and 1.5 trillion of sea animals are just used as instrument of our consumption. We say in genocide that there's a dehumanization of human beings. We treat them like rats and vermin and cockroaches to be eliminated. And with animals we go one step further, we instrumentalize them. They become objects. They become like a pig place, industrial is like a sausage factory basically. So they become meat factory. So anyway, the whole these things is ethically, you cannot imagine progressing toward a more altruistic society or more compassionate society while completely ignoring that aspect. This another aspect is selfishness even to other fellow human beings, because it is the rich country that consume the most meat. About 200 kilos per year per inhabitant in the USA, about 3 kilos in India. So the more the GDP of a country increases, usually the more the meat consumption. But to make 1 kilo of meat, you need 10 kilos of vegetable proteins. With 1 acre of land, you can feed 50 vegans or 1 or 2 meat eaters. So therefore, it is at the cost of the poorest section of humanity, because the crops, I think 775 million tons of soya and corn are used for industrial farming, which could be used for feeding the people who still need. And now we even do more. We do ethanol to feed the aeroplanes rather than human beings. I mean, this is nonsense in terms of the gap between the rich and the poor, the north, south, and all that. So for many aspects, and the International Panel for Climate Change of the United Nations, which is not particularly a fanatic about being vegetarian, is the United Nations, says one of the strongest recommendations is just to eat less meat to start with. And they said that could make a huge difference because that's one of the easiest way to reduce global warming. The reason is that the industrial farming is cause of production of a lot of methane. Methane is 10 times more active to global warming than CO2. But fortunately, it only lasts 10 years in the atmosphere, while the CO2 lasts 100 years. So in a way, it doesn't, to stop eating meat doesn't require stopping using our cars, traveling, which we certainly do, but it's the second main factor for global warming before actually transportation, after housing. And it just takes 1 second to decide stopping. Now, it doesn't make any huge chaotic change in our life. It's just we eat something else. It's so simple. It can be done instantly. So less effort for the very big result, ethically, for the animals and the poor people, for the planet, for our own health. It seems that a sensible mind should say this is not an extremist perspective, this is the most reasonable and compassionate point of view.